All right. Thank you for tuning in to Watching the World. We're so excited to talk to you about the Sean Diddy Combs trial, a case that we've been covering from day one. Guys, we've been in the courtroom every day, hearing the details, taking notes, sharing the news, and now we've come to you to have a casual conversation about different. Look at all her notes. We have today, we're privileged to have Dara Kennedy. Dara, tell everybody about yourself.
Well, first off, can I just say how excited I am to finally be on your show? Like, this is
Talk
the
to
this
us.
is this is the man that it captures everything from 5 o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock at night. So I'm just a regular old journalist here in New York City, and I'm a news anchor here in New York. But this is the fun stuff, and I'm happy to come on here so we can just talk regular, right? It's stuff we can't say on the news and we can't say on air, but we can say it here. So that's why I'm in my Sunday best, my little hat, and my sweatshirt, and I'm ready to talk to you, Mel.
All right, I'm so happy to have you. So we're gonna bring it down. We're gonna make this more casual. I like that. Okay. So what do you think so far? What are the streets of New York saying about this case, Sean Diddy Combs?
Well, I think what you're talking about today makes sense because you said it's the recap of the whole time, right? So this last week was crazy. A surprise witness who some of us may have thought we knew who it was going to be, and then when they walked into the courtroom. Let's talk about when the surprise witness walked into the courtroom this week. Do you remember the quiet? You could literally hear a pin drop in this
Yeah, right,
courtroom.
right.
It was
There was, and also there was a bit of a delay, so that even made it more interesting.
no facts. I said, is she gonna come or has she changed her mind? Because let's set the scene for them. It's the courtroom. You got two double doors that you have to enter before you get into the main courtroom, and then the one door opened and everybody looked, and then the next door opened and everybody looked and nobody was there. So she probably was like, "Yo, this is way too much." And then she was very, soft spoken, and even watching Puff when he turned around the first time to look, and then he went back. I don't know if you saw that. He
Yeah, I
first
did.
turned around to look, and then he went back, and he just looked straight ahead. The rest of us, though, were looking. I was checking out her outfit because that's one thing I do. I'm like, what are all these witnesses wearing? She looked nice, but you could tell she was very nervous, and I think we could hear it on the stand because she was very kind of what's the word, meek, like
Very
very
meek.
oh, unlike Mia, who was very like I. This this one was just like this is my partner and I love him. So it's just completely different for both witnesses that went under pseudonyms and continue to be anonymous, and we'll respect that, no doubt. Two different vibes, but both very, I think, nervous. So that
Right.
was right.
You know what I noticed about Jane and also about Cassie? They tend to cry the most when they talked about their relationship for Diddy and how they met him and some of the personal things that happened throughout the relationship versus talking about when some of the other things happened that were more graphic.
So I'm hearing you saying that they were emotionally attached to the relationship and they were crying, as opposed to having to sleep with a whole bunch of men and not crying so much about that. Is that what I hear you saying?
Yeah, that's the direct way of saying it. Woo. Lord, I couldn't. No, I won't say it like that. They'll cancel me when I say stuff like that. But anyway, it's all good. No, I'm just
But
joking.
but think about it, right? From an emotional standpoint, anytime you go through a breakup is hard, whether you're a man or a woman. But they were so adamant on making this man happy just so that they could be the one in the relationship. I mean, and I said this on day one or early on. It's like everyone was trying to be Kim Porter. The love that he showed to Kim, right? The respect that he showed to Kim, at least in public. What we know in the public. I'm not talking behind closed doors. The way everyone knows how he adored Kim Porter. It was like every other woman was trying to get that same respect. And I think that's why they, like they said, they wanted to please him. And so they get emotional when they didn't please him enough, or they still, he still made them go through these hotel nights, as Jane Doe calls them, or freak offs, as Cassie calls them. But either way, there was no real relationship there. And that is what I think breaks women when you do all of the things, right? To like be in a proper relationship, and then the man doesn't give he could care less. And I think that's why they cry.
I saw a difference in Jane versus Cassie. It seemed like Cassie, she was kind of a girlfriend, kind of a side chick. But by the time you came around to 2020 to Jane, she was more like, listen, this is an open relationship and it's going
Well,
to
she
be
accepted that though. She accepted that, even though she didn't want it. So I mean, it's like with anything. Don't accept the things you don't want to follow up on later on, just so you can get in the room, right? She should
right.
have known from day one. If a dude tells me, "Hey, this is what I'm about. I'm not trying to settle down," I'm out because I'm trying to settle down, right? So I'm not gonna. I mean, if we could just keep it real, I'm not gonna play myself in a scenario where he's not only dating other people but sleeping with other people, and then some kind of way you turn into a worker or a you're disposable. Let me put it that way. You just become disposable for sex and sex only. Because she said, according to my notes, all my handy notes, it came out to be what 90% of the time.
90%. Yeah.
That's a lot.
That's, that is a lot. You know what else I noticed?
But you're right.
Did
Sorry,
he kind of,
Cassie,
kind of, be-
the
go
girlfriend,
ahead.
because he took Cassie out. Cassie was on red carpets. Cassie traveled. Right. So yeah, she was the girlfriend slash side piece slash disposable body.
Yeah, exactly. Doing a lot of those, what they call them, hotel nights, right? Something I noticed that evolved with Diddy, according to what Jane is saying, is that it started off, I believe, as being freak offs, but by the time Jane came around in 2020, they were debauchery nights. So that was a little different. And also, Cassie talked about all the candles, but I
Mhm.
think just like when the feds came in on him with Homeland Security and they found all the lights up, Jane testified that the red lights, I saw that as being like an evolution of the freak offs over the years. What did you think?
First off, Jane uses the term hotel nights and then debauchery. Cassie used freak offs. I'm not sure what the difference is, but we're gonna honor Miss Jane Doe if she wants to properly, or I don't know, more term it more, I don't know, interesting or less hard as hotel nights. But I think we heard about the red light district and the red lights during Cassie's testimony as well.
Okay.
What we have not heard as much about candles, but we have heard about the red lights. Remember, because it was the vibe. It was like the assistants had to hurry up and go get the vibe ready. And part of that vibe was the lighting. That's what Cassie said, which is why when the feds came, they had all those, they found those extra lights.
Yeah. What do you think as far as the whole concept of the RICO, as far as the case is going so far? It seems that a lot of people are confused about whether it's a RICO or not.
Well, first, I mean, the definition of RICO is an enterprise, right? Racketeering is an enterprise. There's the coercion part of it and the fraud. So those things fall under the RICO, and I think we're seeing it. I think actually the testimony on Friday, the testimony from Jane is starting to set the tone for the enterprise, especially Mel, because it's all so similar. Right. It would be different if it was like, oh, this is so much different than what happened, the testimony from Cassie. Then you would say, how is that an enterprise? This is just somebody who likes to just try different things. But the room is the same, the ingredients are the same, the look is the same, the vibe is the same, the ask is the same. Everything remains the same from woman to woman. And that is how you build your enterprise case, your coercion. And then, okay, we can break up, but you got 3 more months on the rent, right? And so that's a threat, and that's forcing someone to stay in a situation because you're threatening them with basically taking away their security, which is their home. So
Right.
I'm seeing it come together, even though we have to listen to the graphic audio and details of it. The prosecution is slowly, for God's sake, we're in week 4. They're slowly trying to put it under to clear the path for that enterprise.
Right. Jane testified that she was receiving $10,000 a month, which she was applying toward her rent, right? And then she moved into a better housing situation. Were you shocked to find out that he's still paying her 10,000 as of now?
I'm not, and this is the weird thing. This is gonna sound crazy. I think he actually attaches to these women, which sounds really crazy. I think there's some type of, I don't want to say emotional, but there is some type of attachment to these women for a number of reasons. I think he actually did really care for her or like her, right? Because Puff is a person that he doesn't need to just have this woman around. He can have any woman. So I think he's choosing to have certain women around, right? And so how else are you going to keep her around if you're making her go through hotel nights if you're not also giving her something else, right? But then that's also goes to that pattern. We heard it with the doctor on the stand. There's that pattern of the high and low abuse, right? You make them feel like you love them because he does like her. And then I'm going to give you this because you need it. Remember in the testimony, she said early on, she talked about her financial situation. She was a single mom. She was getting some money from her father's, from her kid's dad, but that was it. She was working on Instagram. That was paying her bills. So he attached to her. He recognized the need, and he paid for her. I can see they were still together up until a few months ago, right? The arrest just happened a few months ago. So
Right.
I can. It's weird, but I get it. I can see how he would do that. And then guess
Right.
what? Had he cut off the rent, she may have bounced. And if she bounced, who was going to be his next disposable body?
Right. Amazing. So do you think this is
Again,
proven coercion?
all in my opinion. This is just what I'm thinking. All in my opinion, on the record, my opinion.
No, I get it. So you think that this checks the box for coercion, basically?
Oh yeah, yeah. But
Okay.
we saw before this. But yes, this is treading that water, trying to open it up even further. But we saw it before.
You think it's more so than Cassie's coercion story?
No, Cassie was around for 11 years, a decade of this, right? A decade. And her car was taken, her homes were taken. You know, the threat with the mom is really going to stand out when it comes to the closing statements, the $20,000. So no, it was shown then. Prosecution is just trying to show it as a pattern. This is what he
Right.
does. Kind of like the
Right.
mafia. I mean, the mafia moves a certain way, right? You know when the mafia hits, you know what type of people are made people, and you know who the bosses are. That's basically what they're kind of building out here, I think.
Yeah. Were you surprised when they brought in the CFO? That was one of his roles, Derek Ferguson, and he broke
Derek
down,
Ferguson.
yeah, about the 20,000. It seemed like they did all the day just to prove that 20,000. Or did you pick up more?
Wasted our time, didn't they? What we
Yeah,
doing?
that's what I felt. I'm like, we did the whole day to prove twenty
The
thousand.
whole day. Now, I do think some other good things came out of his testimony. They did recognize the different accounts, and specifically, but that's how corporations work. That's how people with money have multiple. They have multiple accounts. That's not news. But I think a few of the house accounts are where probably they will start to in closing that might they might go back to the house accounts because the
Yeah,
house accounts were funded by the business and the house accounts were also funding some of these excursions. But
right.
yeah, the 20,000 was like, oh yeah, 20,000 came in, and then the next day 20,000 went out. I thought that was better for the defense than it was for the prosecution.
Yeah. I saw online where some people are saying, well, he sent the money back, so that's
So
not
whatever,
anything.
right?
Right.
I mean, I looked at the screen like, what is the point here? And not only did he send it back, I don't know if you remember this, Mel. It's somewhere in my notes. The caption that on the bank statement when you're doing the wires, that you have to say what it's for. He literally said, "Sending back what was sent yesterday," or something like that. It was like a nice little note that went back
Right.
to it, right? So I was like, this helps the defense. I
Right.
mean, I didn't get it. I didn't get it. Derek Ferguson was nice though. He did
Yeah.
not say, however, that he still enjoys or respects Puff.
So so you're so intelligent. I like asking you questions. So here's a good one for you. What was your take on the reason why they brought up Diageo and some of the other corporations, showing that they had a 40% of Diddy's board in certain corporations?
So interesting. So the Diageo is a suit that is ongoing or just finished. So he just filed that suit against Diageo right around the same time or right before he was indicted. So there were, and that's why, if you remember, Mel, there were so many objections to that about the Diageo line of questioning because of the lawsuit. And I think I'm not sure where the prosecution was going with that, besides to say that Puff gets into, Sean Diddy Combs gets into these relationships, business or otherwise, where he gets entangled, right? So the Diageo
Right.
lawsuit is ugly, right? That's an ugly one. He accused them of racism, and I think it was a whole lot of money he's asking for. The Arista part is interesting because Arista owned 50% of Bad Boy. So I was wondering where they're trying to go with that. If he is not 100% Bad Boy, could you put this entire RICO charge coming off from Sean Diddy Combs's money or accounts all on Sean Combs? So I was a little interesting to
That's what
see.
I was saying last night. Yep. Yep. We're on the same
Right.
page.
So I thought again, I was like, they're probably going to dig into this later, but why are we? It's week 4. Let's get this going. But the Diageo was interesting, but the defense did not like that, which is why there were many sidebars, and eventually, you recall, questioning went away from Diageo.
Right. So let's go back to the top of the week, Monday morning. I think it was Eddie Garcia. What did
Mm-hmm.
you think about the story that was painted? Basically, the video that we saw that was presented first on CNN, that basically Eddie Garcia was the first person approached to, I think it was by Christina Coram, to basically make the video go away.
I mean, what's your question here? That was so interesting to learn some of those details. I thought we knew it all from the time we watched the first one, the first video. But I actually saw new video. Did you see new video on
No,
Monday?
I didn't. I only saw it was in court. So
Yeah, but I mean, I think we saw some parts of that video that maybe I hadn't seen because we're so busy taking notes. But I noticed some new video. I don't think we saw before the different angle after he grabbed her bag and her phone. Then we saw him walking down the hall actually using the phone. I don't remember seeing that before. Because
right,
my question was, well, who would he be calling in that moment? So
right.
I don't know if the prosecution showed that purposely to say that again, this is an enterprise. As soon as this happened, he gets on the phone to call some other people to say this is what's going on. Um,
The prosecution, I believe they're trying to say that he had taken her phone
yeah, that was
and he was looking at it, and I think the
who was he
defense is
calling?
right, right.
I
Yeah.
cut you
I
off, and the
I
defense was
guess
saying
I
what?
guess they're trying to say that maybe he caught her cheating again because there's been so many different scenarios. Is that
Can
what you
can
thought?
I'm sorry. Can we say cheating? They weren't married. He had how many other women? Can we say cheating?
Yeah.
Especially when they're
Yeah, you're
going
right.
through these breaks, right? Like she had all these breaks, and she would literally be on a break for 7, 8 days just trying to recover her body and fix her face. And what did that text message say? Give her some ice her up. It's time to ice up. That's
Ice
a
up, yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say that we're in an exclusive monogamous relationship. But to your
Mm.
point about the video, I did think it was interesting, and I did learn um, how that whole $50,000 transfer went down. Cash money in a
Right.
bag. That's if that doesn't sound like mafia cash money in a bag. Come on, bro. Does it? Tell me.
Yeah, cash money. It seemed though that he tried to stick to his guns and not do it. It was only when his manager or supervisor said, "We'll do it for 50 grand,"
And
that
then
he
he got
jumped
a
on
hundred.
the
He got 100.
got 100 stacks. You know what, too? A lot of people are
And
saying the
show
fact
up in
that Diddy
court.
had a money machine, the fact that Diddy had a money machine and counted and knew how to count the money, 100,000 like that.
Like we down in the ATL at the strip club. Let's go. What we doing with the money machine? What we doing? What are we
Right.
doing with the money machine on demand? Now again, I don't run a multi-billion-dollar business. I mean, I'm just a journalist with a few side hustles. I don't even carry cash. So the fact that I could just be like, "Hey Mel, let me get that," and you'd be like, "Yeah." You know what? You need a little extra.
Yeah.
I
To
mean,
spit money out, right?
but again, I think the prosecution is setting all of these. The things you're remembering is what they want you to remember because the jury they're human just like us. They're like
You,
a cash machine.
a cash machine, yeah. And Diddy's personality, he's so bigger than life because he gives a guy a nickname. What? Eddie my angel.
Angel, Eddie, my angel. And not
I knew
once,
you could do
but
it.
twice.
Yep. Yeah,
I
I knew you could do
knew
it,
you
Eddie.
could do it, Eddie. And again, isn't that I mean, and I think I studied psych in college, but I didn't get this far. Isn't that the mental mind screwing around? That screws with somebody's mind because now you're like, oh, he's approving of me. Maybe I'm his friend. Maybe he likes me. And Eddie even texted him later, like, bro, if you need any help when you're in LA, let me know. Puff didn't even respond. So
Didn't
you
even respond.
didn't even respond. So you're not his friend, but he makes you feel like you're important. He makes you feel like we're one. Eddie, my angel. You're my guy.
Right.
I knew you could do it.
I knew you could do it. You know, they met at that hotel, I believe, the place where the money was collected. I thought it was interesting when he said he was leaving and he ordered his car from valet.
Come,
Diddy ordered his car too, and he
if
felt like maybe Diddy
come
was going to
on,
follow.
what? There's a word for that. It's not harassment. It's intimidation. And where does intimidation fall in this lawsuit? Under what charge? RICO, racketeering, coercion, fraud, intimidation. It all is there. And he said he was looking out his rearview mirror and his side mirror is like, because why would you have to leave right at the exact moment? That
Yeah,
meant
exactly.
take your ass back to the hotel, drop this money off, and don't do nothing else. Because I'm seeing you. I know your car, probably know your license plate, right?
Right.
He went right back to that hotel quickly.
Right back. Right back.
Like, well,
I can imagine the feds really shook them down. It seemed that the guy that came and testified, Israel Flores,
Flores,
they
yeah,
even said
the
that it
manager.
would be hard to get him on deck to give when they had to give over their driver's license. They felt like he wouldn't really participate. So then they got, what was the guy's name? Elias, I believe, Henry
They got
Elias
yeah
or something.
they got another guy to give it to him. Yeah.
Yeah. So it seemed like they had quite an experience when they got double the money that they were asking for.
What would you
Right.
do? Would you have given your ID?
No way, Jose. No way. No, no.
You would have passed on the 50K?
I would have had to pass on that. That's too much for my blood. It's just too much.
Because guess what? You're constantly looking over your shoulder. And who else said that in testimony on the stand? Somebody else said that they're multiple people said that they're constantly looking over their shoulder after
Yeah,
dealing with Sean.
paranoid. Yeah, definitely. Right.
I'm
It,
saying,
it was it was amazing that he came in and he asked for immunity. So I knew something was going to be off with his story. You know what I mean?
well, don't forget, Cassie has a lawsuit or had a lawsuit against the hotel, and they were the employees of the hotel. So because of that, in my mind, I'm thinking, and I think this is right. Because of that, because of that lawsuit that recently just got settled, he couldn't perjure himself on what happened for that case and this case
Right.
because
So
they
we definitely
both of the hotel workers did it.
right, right. Very interesting. So
Doesn't
let's
stop
get
the million that Cassie is getting because she got the 10 million, so she just recently got it.
yeah. So now we get to see the reason why, or one of the reasons why. So let's get into Mike Piazza. I felt like he was a very credible witness. He was the video expert who came in and testified on a lot of the background information as to um, the frame rate of the video and so forth. Did you learn a lot, or as much as I did, just hearing him break down how frames work per second, 30 frames per second when they make the videos?
I did not. I dozed off. I'll tell you why. Because I work in television. And so we know frames per second. We know how to go back. We know metadata. We understand all of that. But I did think it was interesting the way he broke it down to the very, very basic level. I do, though, Mel, feel like he may have talked over the jurors' heads a little bit. And he was talking so fast. And then he's telling them, no, 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 you got to go back and this and that. And this is why the edit cut like this. I don't think he did the best explanation of the three different cuts, but I do understand the frameworks. Yeah, I did. That was
Right.
I may have closed my eyes for a millisecond or a frame per second while he was speaking.
This was a tough week for everybody. I saw a lot of people sleeping this week. I was trying to stay awake myself. It was a crazy week, especially when it came down to Derek Ferguson. I was struggling hearing all the financials and all that type of stuff. You know, it wasn't
And you're a
exciting as
money guy.
Dame. Yeah, and I'm a money guy. What about that? So, for the audience sake, please like the video, share the video, subscribe. Make sure you reach out. We're going to give you Dara's channel too, so you can follow her as well. But
Yeah, and be
at the
nice
end,
to me. I'm just getting started. And I'm getting started because of Mel, actually, because I see him doing this every day and being able to interact. I love to interact with the people. And It's a shame I have to wait till I go to work and get on TV or do the news rather to do it. So this is fun. So be easy with me because I have like one follower and it's Mel. You're my only follower.
Oh no, you're super polished. So you're gonna have so many followers, it's gonna be a shame. So that's
But
amazing.
we
So
want to have fun on it too.
yeah, I'm enjoying it. So for the audience, in the video that you saw on CNN, you have Cassie coming down the hallway. She has her bags and then she starts to put on her shoes. Then it shows Diddy coming down the hall rather fast. So the video expert explained that the frame rate is 30 pictures per second. And I guess there was an error or the video was compromised. So instead of having 30 frames, there was 21 frames per second. So it made Diddy come down the hall much faster than he actually was. So here's the issue with this case. There was the original surveillance video that you see. You get an idea from the CNN video. But the guy who comes out of the elevator, his name is Israel Flores. He was the security guard who responded to this event. And he comes out of the elevator and he deals with Diddy. You even see him smiling at some point. The reason
Oh,
why,
I wrote that in my notes. He's just smiling and laughing it up as Diddy sits in a towel half naked and Cassie's face is badgered. But go ahead, continue.
okay, so he
That's the
takes,
one that got the money too, by the way.
right. He takes a video of a video with his cell phone. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the way the video was preserved. And the reason why he did it was so he could take it home and show it to his wife. That's what he testified when he came on the stand. So, at any rate, that's the video that you get to see when you're watching CNN. So the expert came in. He fixed the video. He fine tweaked it so that it reflected the true nature of how Diddy came down the hallway. And so these are the certain things that we saw in court. Also, with the cell phone, he had to change the aspect
Right.
ratio and also the lighting. Go ahead and break it down some more for them if you want.
Well, I mean, it sounds like he tweaked video. Let me clear that up. So the average person, you could be sitting at home and saying, "Well, he tweaked the video. Puff wasn't running down the hall. Puff wasn't indeed running down the hall. What he was trying to first off, he had to clean it up, and I just pulled that up when you were talking. His actual quote was, "At this particular timestamp that you're talking about, between the motion cameras, because one camera was motion, which tweaks, so there's a stop." So imagine, you know how if you get the alarm system when you come in the house, it only goes off when it. That doesn't mean the time stops.
Right.
Real life time stops, but the motion time starts when someone comes in. So he said that there was the delay there, but that doesn't mean that Puff wasn't running down the hallway. He said that file quote could be corrupted due to the motion, and that time code corrected itself, and so it accurately depicted the action taking place. I wrote that down because it's important for people to know this guy didn't go speed up the situation, right?
Right. Absolutely.
And there were three different angles on that too, which I thought that's why we hadn't seen the one where he picked up the phone and started talking to people. Um,
Right.
but he also said that there was a delay. Oh, okay, here it is. There's a 5 minute and 55 second difference, time wise, on
Right.
the numbers between the elevator video that you guys saw and that hallway video that showed Puff running.
Right. And there was also another one that was, I believe, 5 seconds off or something. I
Mhm.
felt like
The elevator one where we saw Diddy
yeah,
laughing,
elevator one.
and
Five.
where we saw Puff go towards her, where he eventually throws the vase. There was a 5 second delay for the elevator lobby camera.
Right. And one of the arguments is that because he had to change the aspect ratio, it made Puff look much bigger than her and what he truly is because of how the video was tweaked. So that
I
was a good point too that was made.
Yeah, I mean he is bigger than her. She's
Yeah,
small.
right.
I think that's a non-factor in terms of you know the overall aspect. I appreciated the time that Mr. Piazza showed from Puff coming down the hallway to the other angle of him coming down the hallway. So you can still see his urgency in getting there. It's just that There was some glitches, and there's a little delay in time, not delay in the actual action.
Right. I noticed that in the cross examination, they seemed like they were leading to a place, but it never really came,
Yeah.
some defining moment. It seemed like they didn't really land a reasonable doubt just in regards to the video.
With
What was your take on it?
I agree, because then he goes and he says, hey, listen, these are the time differences, and it's because of this, that, and the other. He said on cross examination with Tinny Garagos did the cross examination. One of her first questions was, "You said the system was old and cheap. Is it reliable?" And he said, "I don't recall those words." Eventually, she got to the point where he said, "Okay, so the system may have been taxed. It had the potential to be taxed." Because the defense wants to say that this is all edited and it's not real time and all of that. And if the system is old and cheap, according to Tinny Garagos, and him, the system is taxed, can we believe it? But on the redirect, does it reflect the actions that actually happened that day? Yes. No more questions.
Right. Straight to the point. They really drove those points home. This is a good time for us to stop for a moment. We have a lot more people in the room now. So, can
Hey,
you
people.
just tell everyone again who you are so that they can find you online?
Hey, everybody. I'm Dara Kennedy. I am just starting my little channel, so you have to bear with me, but I'm a journalist. I'm a news anchor here in New York, and I am covering the trial every day with Mr. Mel and everybody else that's there. I mean, we're there at 5, 6 in the morning trying to get a spot so that we can come and talk to you about all this, because this is history. So thank you for being
Absolutely.
with us. And hey, I'm like this because it's Sunday. I'm in the backyard, and you know, it's Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah, you're casual, but your voice comes through. That professionalism is crazy. You have it. We can only dream about trying to get there one day. So that's amazing. And
Got to
thanks
flip
for
through
having
all
you
the
on
notes
board.
as you talk. I'm like, wait, let me find it because we
All
go through
right.
so
And
many
you're
notebooks.
backing it up. We have Uda on the go in the audience. We see
Hey,
Uda
Oda.
out there every day. What's up, Uda? He says salute Mel and Dara. Uda is on the steps of the courthouse every day out front all day long. I don't even know if he takes a break to eat. What do you think?
Probably not.
Right.
Probably not. Because you'll lose your spot. You start messing around. And if you go inside, you got to go through security. I'll bring you a Snickers bar. That's really cool of you every day.
All right. So let's go through some of the questions or comments here. And in the end, we would like some of you to come up and share, tell us what you think,
Yeah.
ask a question or what have you. William Morrison says he's going to walk on most of these charges. A lot of people are going to be so surprised when he walks soon. Any thoughts on that?
Which one specifically you think? I mean, it's only 3 charges. Which one specifically?
All right, William, tell us which one do you think, or do you think he's going to walk on all charges? We'll come back to you. All right. Gima says Puff later publicly apologized for his actions in the video.
After he denied even doing it.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He did deny it, right?
I would never do those things. Ugh. Sorry, I
Right,
did those things. What's the question?
right. Al Richards says innocent until proven guilty.
That's true.
Yeah,
And that's just facts. That's the way America works. I mean, and that is the beauty of America. You get to have 10 lawyers that money can buy. Um, and if you didn't have the money, the government would give it to you, right? So they have to prove this case. He is innocent as of now. It's just true. It's true.
right. That's the thing about it. We say he's innocent and, for now, but it's amazing if you say anything halfway decent about his family when they're walking out, people go crazy. They're like, "Oh, you're supporting the family of a criminal."
Let me tell you something. Those kids are not to blame for their father's doings. I mean, they're just, think about it. Half of his kids are just teenagers, just trying to live their life, right? Just being kids. So I feel bad for them that that they can't get the support that they need support now. They've lost their mother, specifically the Combs kids, the ones from Kim Porter. They've lost their mother. They don't have a dad. The dad is in jail. So you don't have a mama, you don't have a dad. And the dad can't even get minutes really to call his kids, right? So there has to be some type of human angle there to say, without a mom and a dad, these kids deserve some type of support. And they're getting it, by the way. They don't have to have the street support. They're getting it from Hollywood and godfathers and godmothers and grandmothers. But it's too bad. I saw that on social. It's too bad that people feel like they can't even send a hug to those kids. By the
Yeah.
way, King is out in these New York streets. I think he's doing good. Him and his girl are out in these New York streets being followed around, going to Auto Hottest restaurants. Maybe he doesn't
Yeah.
need a hug.
Seem like they're having a good time, Big Chuck says, "Do you think Brian Steele is hard on a female witness?"
Ooh, good question. And it's one that we actually talked about on one of the lunch breaks. There was some chatter about him being a little tough on, I forget who he did his cross with, but being a little tough. There's been some talk about that. That's a good question that you noticed that. Yeah.
On
That,
Bana.
I'm
It
not
was
saying you're
on Bana,
on
which
Bonner.
we're gonna go right to. Yeah.
Yes. There was a little rumbling about it. And then I know I've sitting next to some lawyers to say he didn't go hard enough. He didn't break her down enough. Because, she's got 17 versions of one situation. So I think he was trying to get her. And what we've now learned as of yesterday, sorry, as this helicopter goes by, what we learned as of Saturday is Diddy wants a mistrial because of Bonna's testimony, the fact that she lied on stand and the prosecution knew it. So he was going hard so that they can get this perjury.
Right. When we came back from lunch, they
Mm-hmm.
did like a semi redirect, and they put in the information that it was actually the 30th. Because I think the picture that was painted is that between the 26th and the 29th is when basically he had hung her over the balcony or what have you,
Yeah, but he
and,
was Diddy popping, take that right here in New York City.
and
So
staying at the Trump Plaza, right?
yes, yes,
Right.
wow. But he had a show in Newark, New Jersey, and then he was doing something with the kids, I think, up here in Harlem. So, so the defense did good with that. But you're right on redirect. What was your point?
The prosecutors came in and said that they showed, I guess, some text messages with Cassie saying that Diddy was coming in the house. He attacked Bonna. I forget the exact word, but then they pinned it. It was actually on the 30th. That's the scenario they tried to paint, right?
Yes, and then they also asked, "Did you remember the exact date?" And she said no. But she testified, and exhibits were entered on the 26th. And the question was, did this happen the same day? And she said yes. And she went home and took those photos and she did all that on September 26th. And metadata doesn't lie. Her IP
Right.
said September 26th. Sean Diddy Combs was in Newark, New Jersey on September 26th. So then to come back and say, do you remember the date? Well, no. Okay. So which one is it? And that's why they had to go hard on her, which could feel like it was he was berating her, but he's trying to get to the point of, hey, are you telling the truth?
Yeah. Did you get the feeling she kept asking, "Can you rephrase your question?" She must have said that over 20 times. You think that was a strategy, or you think maybe she was nervous? Just a light thought on that.
Strategy.
Strategy. Yeah. Okay. Because she also kept saying, "I don't know. I don't remember." Because I'm shocked that in some of these cases, in fact, Deontay Nash, that 2 days prior to them giving their testimony, they're still meeting with the prosecutors. I thought maybe this was all been sewn up before the case started, but
Well,
this
that's what
case
the
is
defense
still.
said. You literally just met with them 2 days ago. You don't remember?
She says she don't remember.
Sorry, that wasn't Brian Cross. That was that's Sister Girl. That was Nicole Westmoreland.
Westmoreland. Okay.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. That's who did that cross. I got that right here. Nicole Westmoreland. She came in hot. I wrote that down too. She came in hot. But yes, Brian has been a little. Some people feel he's been harsh, but they feel that same way about Nicole. But guess what? Those are the two attorneys that are pulling out the perjuries and the lies from the witnesses.
When you cover cases, is it normal that they try to match up women with women on cross examinations?
Depending on the case. They also want to be careful not to do black on black crime, right? So you don't want it to always be like the black woman, the black attorney is cross examining the person of color, because that may not come off well to the jury. And in New York, we're very diverse, and this jury is very diverse. So you don't want some of the people in that jury box to say, I feel like she was attacking another woman of color, right? It's tough. It's tough. It's tough. Because then do you want the white man to get up and talk to her crazy? No, because I'll be mad about that too. How about just don't do anything and don't go to trial? How about that?
Yeah. So we've had two cases. We're moving on to Jane. We've had two cases though
Mm,
where people have worked to identify her in the media or
mm.
them in the media. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first off, it wasn't the media that identified them. It was the street soldiers. Come on. It was Black
Mm,
Twitter. It was Black Twitter, street soldiers. It was people that are out here. Um, it just, it's a hard time to try to keep people anonymous. I think the prosecution failed in their strategy. It's like they're out of touch a little bit with the way that the world communicates now. Everything before we could even get a lunch break, the internet knew who these people were, right? They have to do a better job. Cover her up. I don't know. Ask different questions. Um, the media, mainstream media, legacy media, really, we understand the circumstances and the repercussions if we expose these people. We don't want to lose our credibility. We don't want to not be allowed in the courtrooms. We don't want to be fired. We don't want to be sued, right? But what can you do with a content creator that's on the street and decides to say those things? You can't. What can you do? They're on the street given this person's identity and then they put it online. It's not fair to the victim, but it's really hard to contain and manage.
right. That's a good point. Do you think the judge will really do something about it?
No, because what did he say on Friday or whatever day it was? They brought it up again, and he was like, "Well, I can reread instructions, which would go to the courtroom, the overflow room, and to everyone. But you know, what else can he? He can't. What can you do?
Yeah, I thought it was very interesting that her attorney stood up and, gave their thoughts about her being revealed as well, at least for Jane.
Oh, okay. So you ask about the judge. I don't think the judge can do much besides try to ban people, but the government, because it's their case, can certainly send a note or letter to the court, which is the judge, and say, I don't want this person, this person, this person, this person in the courtroom, in the federal building, period. And additionally, I want them to remove this post, remove that post. And you heard them talk about removing posts. Remove this post, remove that, and then they're banned. You don't want to do that. But I think like I don't know, something's telling me that on Monday or Tuesday there's gonna be some people this week that might be reprimanded because
Wow.
because identities plural have been exposed.
Right.
And those are some people that are sitting right there in the courthouse.
Right. So let me ask you this. As far as the overall case, the first 4 weeks, it looks like we may have another 4 weeks to go, right?
I
They
thought
did say,
they said we were ahead of schedule, and that's why the judge is making us stay every day now from 9 to 5. Um, my fear, I guess, is number one, we may not make it. We may not have a July 4th. I don't know if this case is going to be done before the holiday, but I think the defense is going to take their time. You see how they take their time with every single cross? They just take their time. And
drag it on.
the prosecution says, well, because of the time that the defense took on cross examination, once they get their case, I think it's going to take a while. So you might be right. We might have another 4 weeks. Mm.
Right. Someone in the audience is asking if Diddy's accounts were frozen. Do you know?
Now or before or after the raid or when?
I think they're talking about now.
No, I don't think his accounts are frozen. No, because he has to be able to pay for his defense.
Right.
He's got to be able to pay for his defense and pay for his no properties and things. Yeah, take care of the kids.
Right. So, being in the audience and really following this case as much as you have, how do you feel about the overall case so far? Just sitting in observation, you think they're building a solid case, or you think it's possible that they need a lot more work to do?
I'm just wondering where they're going next. The prosecution. We kind of know what we're about to hear, right, from Jane Doe this week or the next few days, and we know that the defense is going to tear into her, right, especially with all of her. I love my partner. We only just broke up. He's still paying my rent. Where do they go after that? Where do they go after that? Are they calling any of the people that we keep seeing on text message Are we calling D-Rock? Are we calling KK? Are they calling the driver? I mean, where are they going after this? Are they calling Harv Pierre? Are they calling Clive Davis? What are they doing? What are they going to do next? That's the question. And so, how can you? It's a little shaky. Someone in your comments mentioned it. It feels shaky. It doesn't feel like it has been hammered home enough. But I just don't know where they go.
Yeah. I think if they do bring up any of those security guards, D Rock, Uncle Paulie, and they substantiate any of this, I think it's going to create a big problem for the case. But if they don't bring them up, there's been so much. In fact, the judge said there's been so much hearsay with this case, right?
Yeah, he did say that. But let's not discredit what we have heard from the government's witnesses. They've corroborated a lot.
Right, right,
Capricorn is a part of the crew, so to speak, right? The chairman's board crew. This is a real thing. I'm not talking off the record. There was a slide that the defense didn't admit, but that the prosecution did, that showed the flow chart of the chairman, bad boy chairman's group, and that's where the D Rocks, the KKs, and everyone was on it. Capricorn's the only one out of all of them and Derek Ferguson to talk, but they have all corroborated. Capricorn corroborated what D Rock has done, what Cassie said, what Mia has said, what the assistant said. We forget about the assistants. We remember them so long ago.
right.
She's corroborated that whole thing. So, do you really need D Rock?
I
Maybe great
think
to
so.
have him. Yeah.
I think to solidify the case, I think they would need to bring on his inner circle. Still, I'd like to see more because under cross examination, a lot of the victims they've just taken a major hit and it just clouds the whole case. So I think to bring it home, they'd have to bring in some of his security guards. And if they say they saw these things or they did it, I think it's going to be big trouble for the RICO.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So do you think Capricorn's testimony wasn't enough?
I think it was enough, but I think under cross examination, I think it
That was
was too much. It was a lot of shaky things going on. But here's the thing about Capricorn, why I put her as the number one witness or victim witness on my list is because she basically painted a movie. And then also she substantiated the whole thing that happened with Kid Cudi. She's in the car. She's called Cassie. She says Diddy's in the house. She's the one that put Diddy in the house for what
facts.
people have labeled as a burglary, but on the police report it said it was a trespass, right?
And that's crazy. So
And then
she
you have the arson, right? So
allegedly, the
allegedly,
Mo-
right?
the Moscow cocktail, Mazel Tov cocktail, Mazel
They
Tov.
didn't really sew that up. I mean, in my opinion, I didn't see it really.
Oh,
And
they
then they
left
said
that
it
out.
was female DNA, right? Yeah,
They didn't even go there. I wanted to dig into that. Who is the female's DNA that's on there? Was it Capricorn? Did she not? Did she really not just sit in the car? Did he have her go in and do the things? I mean, but they didn't get into it.
yeah,
But again, the defense still, guys, here's the crazy thing: the defense still has to present their case. They don't just go, okay, it's over. They then have to go and present their part, their
right.
witnesses. So maybe they're going to get into some of that. But then it's their case, it's the government's case to lose, not the defense's case to prove.
Yeah. What was one of the most defining moments of this trial so far for you?
Well, there's the shock and awe, the shock of the freak offs and the hotel nights. But that's just the man's sexual fetish. There's no law against sexual fetishes, unfortunately. Right.
Right.
The shock, the next shock, or oh my god moment was the abuse. It didn't just happen one time. It happened for 11 years with Cassie, and then it happened to multiple people. That was wild to me. But again, he's not on trial for domestic abuse, right? So the things that are shocking me, he ain't even on trial for. Um, I don't know. We need something. We need something. I thought the Suge Knight story was interesting, but there's not a law of chasing after somebody and wanting to threaten to fight them. That's not illegal.
Right.
I'm just trying to. I don't know. The last testimony with Jane Doe, I thought was wow, eye opening. Um, but there's not been one thing that I say that's it. That's the one right there. That's it.
Yeah,
That's,
I was
I'm,
shocked. I was really shocked about the freak offs myself. You know, a point that stood out to me is Cassie's mother walking off the bench, and she was trying to eyeball
I,
Diddy and give him. She was trying to mean mug him. I thought that was very impressive to me. She was just keeping it 100 with him. You know what I mean?
you know what? Thank you for bringing that up. I sat behind um, Alex Fine, Cassie's husband. I sat behind him every day, directly behind him. By the way, he carries a spit bottle. You know how they do down south? Yeah, some of your relatives, you might go to the cookout down at the family reunion and your uncle got the spit bottle and he's spitting tobacco in it. That's what
Yeah,
Alex was doing that in the courtroom. That's so nasty. It wasn't tobacco, he was just spitting in it. Anyway, I digress. Sitting right there, and he could have burned a hole directly through Puff's the side of Puff's face every day. I mean, he was just livid when she was going through her testimony. So thank you for bringing that up because that reminds me that kind of stuck out in my head. And the fact that I'm pretty sure he didn't know his wife, now wife, had gone through some of the things she talked about. There's no way
right.
he could have known some of that stuff.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. The other thing that stood out to me is when they wanted to try to kick, when the judge wanted to try to kick Diddy out for trying to sway the jury. You want to talk about it?
No, I love this judge. This judge is hilarious on both sides. On both sides, guys. I don't think he is playing favorites at all. I think he keeps everybody in check. And he clearly has 4th of July plans because he's moving this thing around. He was like, I'm not trying to be here all summer. Yeah, he basically told Mr. Agnifilo Mark, who is the lead attorney here, check your boy, check your guy here, because I have it in my notes. Puff is directly playing up to or connecting with members of the jury. Now, in my count, there's 4 who I think are already that are just straight up Diddy fans. They're just straight up like I think they just like him, and I think he recognizes that and he connects with them. But he was doing way too. He was doing way too. He was like, you guys out there. He was basically like, yeah, that's it, that's it, that's it, and he was doing it to the jury. And he turned and he even looked at the press, and he turns and he does this to his family, the whole heart emoji thing, and then he comes back and he's like, and he's very demonstrative in court. And the judge finally was like, all right, bruh, that's enough. That's enough. Because that could be intimidation to the jury as well.
Yeah. I also noticed about Diddy, just some background information. He holds the chair out for the
Oh,
female
oh yeah.
attorney sitting beside him. He pours water for everybody sitting at his table. He comes in, he hugs all the guys and
Everybody
girls as he come in the morning. You know, these are
hugs the whole team.
yeah, yeah,
But he's also the post-it king of post-its, isn't he? The way he
yeah.
writes those notes and then he slams them down and he passes. Look, guys, he's literally passing notes down the bench to attorneys to the one that's actually giving testimony. That's something normally lawyers do for each other, but Puff is like, he'll be like this, something, post it, right,
Yeah.
pass. And then
You
he'll be
know
like,
what? Right. You know what else I noticed he does a lot? He does this a lot. Whenever his interest is peak, he take his glasses off, put them back on. I wonder, is that a sign that he's nervous or he's combative to what's being said?
the man's life is on the line. He better be nervous every damn day. Every day he should be nervous, especially not knowing who's going to be called, who's or what they're going to say. Every day he should be nervous. So, yeah, I think he's intrigued. He's very in tune as to what's going on, but he remembers a lot. He remembers a lot because almost every witness he has had notes. He has had notes. And then, guys, he'll write the note, pass it, and he'll do this. He's staring at the attorney, waiting on them to mention what's in his notes. He'll write it and he'll go, like, you better answer you better read you better read the sticky and ask the question. And then they'll ask it and he'll go like this and want to see what the witness has to say. Very involved.
Yeah. What about the lady who caused the commotion and they
M-
had to take her out
MTA
of there?
worker, the MTA worker. She was
Yeah.
right by you. She sat right behind you, Mel.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
No, how about you tell the audience about that? Because I was on the other side. Like, this woman is
Most people don't realize though what happened was it started with her hat. So we all came in together. They bring us in groups of seven. So I came in the
The
first group
public.
of seven.
They bring it
Yeah,
public.
she
Yeah.
and the public is 14 in all, two groups of seven. So I'm on the front row. They bring her on the second, and he's like, "Remove your hat." But she was out there all night, so she wasn't trying to remove her hat. She didn't get a chance to fix her hair. And so they had a big confrontation. She was like, "Well, I can wear my hat." Da, da, da. He was like, "No, you're not going to wear it. If you keep messing up, I'm going to throw you out of here." And that really rubbed her the wrong way. So then she's sitting there like, "I'm sick of it. This is crazy. How you ain't going to tell me about my hat?" Then she asked another marshal, "Can I wear my hat?" And he was like, "No, whatever." So all of a sudden she was like, "I'm about to go home." And then she said she got up, and then it was all the smoke. She was ready to go. And I forget exactly what she was saying, but she was like, "Y'all all in here laughing at this man. His life is on the line, and they're gonna take his money or what have you." And I saw Diddy turn around and so forth, but that was definitely a moment to remember in the courtroom, and I believe they let her back in the courthouse the next day. That's what I heard.
Welcome to New York, everybody.
I was shocked about that.
But see what that was a great story you told. But it starts outside, right? The fact that and it
Hmm.
started weeks ago. She's been what's the word? Active. She's been quite active outside the courthouse and inside the courthouse since day one of the trial. She's been in the overflow room loud, causing problems, smacking the TV. Because in the overflow room, guys, that's not where Puff is. That's not the main courtroom. That's where there's not enough seats for everybody. So they've opened up additional courtrooms for people to watch on TV. And she goes in there, she causes a ruckus, and she's been kicked out and asked to leave before. That morning that you're talking about, you know, everyone went in. She was the last one of the public. They had her standing outside because I saw her and I turned to my girlfriend from ABC and I said, they're not going to let her in, right? And he said, they're going to let her in. And so they had a little meeting and then they said, all right, you can come in. And I remember one of the marshals saying, well, once she gets in there, basically, it's their problem. She made it into the main courtroom with that hat, took it off, had a wrap on, and she started saying, I don't know if I can say this on your show.
Yeah, go ahead and say it.
She started saying, I dare you to pull out your gun. To our main guy, there's one main guy, Marshall guy in the courtroom who knows us all by name. And she started calling him out. And he went like this, because all the marshals are armed for that reason. And he went like this. She said, I dare you to pull out your gun. And then she started saying, you can suck my this and you can do that and F this and F you. And you guys, you white men are out here trying to take down this black man, just like you said. But before she left, y'all, guess what? She made sure the media knew her name. She even spelled it for us on the way out.
Candor, yeah. I was like, wow.
No, don't repeat that. Don't repeat that.
Oh,
It,
okay.
it, it
Yeah.
doesn't. It's ridiculous. It's so disrespectful. And she didn't get the bang for her buck because the jury wasn't even in the box yet. That's how early in the morning it was. They were still going through evidentiary.
Yeah. A lot of excitement. So, what would you like to say in conclusion? How would you like to wrap it up? What do you think about the case so far overall?
That was it. You know what else stood out real quick? The definition of all the drugs.
Hmm.
When Nicole made Brianna go through, so weed, what's that like? What other drugs do you take? Cocaine. How's that make you feel? Oh, and then what about ketamine? How's that make? She went through all of the drugs. It was so embarrassing. The girl, you guys, you couldn't see it. Well, you couldn't see it because it's not on TV. But the girl's shoulders just went every drug. It was like she just became so embarrassed, and she was like, "Well, that one." She did laugh at one of them, though. I thought it was odd that sometimes she would giggle, and that's what made me think: Is she high right now? Because why were you giggling on a stand for a case this big?
Yeah. Right.
Maybe nervous giggles. Anyway, that was something else I remembered. So what are your comments saying? What are they thinking?
Let's see here. Again, if anybody would like to come up, please come up now. Just hit the link. I'm going to drop it one more time in case someone wants to come up and ask questions. The only thing I ask is that you make sure your video is up so we can see your face, and then I'll let you up. Rock's Music says he's guilty. Tracy says hi. Look like she's a realtor from Texas.
Okay.
All
Everything
right.
people.
George. Grosson says he loves you and he likes the flower. The flower is nice behind you.
Thank you.
Deborah, shout out to Deborah. Great talk. Thank you, Deborah. Deborah's a strong supporter. She's always on. Joel says, who cares about Diddy? All
Oh.
right. All right. Let's see. Okay, so here we go. Cashley says, wasn't the husband in the freak offs?
Oh well, shooter. At this point, he, yeah. Um, no, I don't think so. But see, that's interesting because over the weekend on Friday, someone said that there's a trainer whose name might be coming up or is floating around who actually was a part of the freak offs. I'm going to assume it's not Alex Fine, that trainer.
Okay. I hadn't
So
heard
that
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 yet.
that's out in the rumor mill. I see she's on those streets. I see you.
Right. Lorena says 90% success rate. I think she's talking about the Southern District of New York as
Oh, they
far as
don't play
their.
around. Though. They don't listen. It's not a game. I just wrote a whole article about Maureen Comey, and I mean, she doesn't play. Epstein, Maxwell, mafioso, which is huge here in New York. She doesn't play around. But that's just her. Now she's got 5 other lawyers that she's working with, and I'm not sure they're all as strong as her. But to her point, the Southern District of New York, this is what they do. They do RICO. They do RICO. So,
Wow.
and they win.
Donnie C says, does it really matter? Will the world still go on? It's crazy.
The world will still take that, take that. It goes on.
Right. Chris Thacker says, Diddy did it. You
I,
know, that
I like
brings
your
up a
play on
point.
words. You know Diddy did it.
Yeah. That brings up a point with the jury selection. I was amazed during that process how many women were saying they saw the video and basically Diddy was guilty.
Uh,
They didn't make the cut probably, but that was something that I kept hearing as they kept interviewing the different people.
because I mean, it's tough. I mean, that's why they tried so hard to keep this video out of evidence. But it doesn't matter if it's in evidence in the courtroom. The world has seen it. The world has seen it and has formed their own opinion. Are you surprised that women would think he's guilty? Because somebody that, I mean, that was so harsh.
Yeah, I think the video is hard to get around. It's going to be tough, and also you see a lot of force. I mean, if that's not
Yeah,
force,
that's
then
the
what is
point.
force? You see what I'm saying? So, M. Dion Lewis says Trump has done much worse, yet Diddy is locked up. Lock up Diddy, however, lock up the tangerine turd. So that's his
Hey,
take.
you listen. I covered the Trump trials. I mean, I totally understand where you're coming from. It seems like Trump has a different lane of law because he's done a lot of dirt over the course of generations here in New York. So I don't know if it's worse. I think it's different types of crimes, but definitely crimes that he should have been accounted for. Hey,
Mm.
listen, and if this Epstein file ever comes out,
Whew, it's going to be a
on.
lot of heat, right?
Yeah.
Big Chug says, what is this week will consist of in trial?
Good question. On Friday, to wrap up the week, we're gonna have, I think, 2 more days of Jane Doe. That will take us to Wednesday, and then the prosecution needs to figure out who else they're calling. Have you briefed your audience on why we don't know in advance?
No, go ahead. Break it down.
So we're gonna expect Jane Doe 2 more days at least for the defense, and then the government, the prosecution, doesn't like to share their witness lists. I think for a number of reasons. The main one is because of intimidation. So you guys do know what's fact leading up to this case after Sean Combs, Diddy, Puff was indicted. He was reaching out to potential witnesses heavily, like aggressively, assertively, to the point that it was intimidation. And so now the government won't release their witnesses for fear that he would some kind of way still be able to intimidate them. So we in the media and in the courtroom only get the witness list the day before. And then they say, maybe we'll update you in the morning. So to answer that's a long way of saying we know we've got Jane Doe 2 more days. After that, we don't know.
Thank you for that explanation. All right.
Because
Elma says, go ahead. She says, good afternoon. Okay, thank you. Miss Bennett. Chris says, peace and love from Flushing, Queens. Go Yankees. Salute to you, my guy. Thank you. Shout out to you, Chris.
That's
Thanks for locking
blasphemous
in.
in Queens, rooting for Flushing, rooting for the Yankees, not the Mets. Smart guy though.
Right. Big Chuck says, because his accounts were frozen, I think. If Puff Financial still in his mom's name. I hadn't heard that one. So,
Yes, that's a good question. Two of his accounts are in. Oh, I have it right here. Two of his accounts are in his mom's name, but it's under the business. Janice Combs Publishing and Janice Combs Films. That's under the business, and I'm sure there's some personal ones with her still. Yeah. Good point. That's
okay.
great you caught that. I'm surprised he caught that.
Yeah, those were the names of the corporations. So,
And the accounts that they showed,
right.
the bank accounts.
Okay. So,
How about somebody said over the weekend that his mom should be in this indictment because she's a co-conspirator?
yeah, I've been seeing that. In fact, when they walk into the car at the end of the day, a lot of people are saying things of that nature. It's really tough stuff.
Mhm.
James says, anytime the government is changing a black man or I guess he meant charging a black man with a 100-year-old law, a law made to trap a black man, Jack Johnson, it's bull.
Okay. I mean,
Okay.
which law? I mean, the man is up on multiple counts. So I'm not sure which one you're talking about. RICO is not a black man's law. That's a mafioso law. Prostitution is not a black man's law. So which one are you talking about, my buddy?
Okay. William Morrison says trafficking humans, not true. He never forced anyone to do anything. Look at the Playboy machine. Nobody arrested him.
Hugh Hefner
Right.
was Hugh Hefner selling women or were paying those girls the Playboy bunnies? That's what they're called. Was he paying Playboy bunnies? Was he trafficking Playboy bunnies? Do we know what trafficking means, streets? Are we clear on what trafficking means? Because I think that's a real question, by the way. I think that trips up a lot of people. Because I think old school trafficking, you think like you're grabbing somebody by the hair and you're forcing them into a car and you're driving them down to Alabama to go have sex with a whole bunch of men. Trafficking is a little less than that. It's not as harsh. But I'm listening. Go ahead.
All right. So we're going to take one more and then we'll wrap it up. So Nick says, and thanks for coming back, Nick. I remember you being at the courthouse. He says, stopping by to support. I appreciate you. And Rock says, I do agree that the Tangerine Man should be in jail permanently. So obviously he's talking about Donald Trump. So it doesn't appear that we have any more. Okay, here we go. Frank says, so somebody flew you out. They trafficking.
And then what? No, hop on a plane, go have fun, go down to NBA All Star quietly though, off the record and on the record. NBA NBA All Star has been looked at by states and the U.S. By federal law as a point of interest for sex trafficking. Just so you know, because
Wow.
because there's a lot that goes on when people are brought from different parts of y'all know how NBA All Star works. So to your point, I kind of want to say yes. You asked that basic question, and the basic answer could be yes.
Okay. And I'll do also, Peter. RICO is with intent to takes all funds. So RICO is with intent to take all funds. That's what he wrote.
That's to control funds, can control movement, not take. I mean, it's control, right?
Right. Okay. So thank you so much for tuning in to Watching the World. I think this has been a very good show. I'm so amazed to have Dara Kennedy with us. Dara, tell us again one final time about yourself and then take us home.
I am a news anchor here in New York City, and I am starting this channel thanks to the help of Mel. And you can find me. I got to find my channel, but we're going to upload it and we're going to put it up, and you guys can follow me. And I don't do traditional stuff. I'm just really talking about what I see behind the scenes, and giving you an inside look. And not only that, not only this case, but because I am in New York, and I travel for work, so I can take you behind the scenes anywhere. So that's what we're going to try and do. So it should be fun. It won't be me as a news anchor.
All right. Could you just give us a little spiel of your final saying goodbye? Show us a little of your professionalism.
No, you said we was
Oh,
keeping
okay.
it comfortable.
Okay. All right. We'll save that for another day. I want them to hear you in your normal setting, but I'll hold off on you this time. I'll let you
Well, let's
slide.
do it after Wednesday because there's another good witness coming up this week, we hope.
Okay, so that's great. We'll have you back on Wednesday. Guys, we're going to be back on today at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We're going to have an attorney talking about the case. He's a criminal defense attorney. He's been on every Sunday, Calvin Johnson. So stay tuned. Come back. We'll be back on air in about 30 minutes. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks for liking, sharing, and subscribing. And thank you, Dara Kennedy. I look forward to having you back on Wednesday. We're going to do a recap.
Yes, depending on what happens on the cross.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So
Thank
you
you,
for
everybody. Thanks for having me. Thanks,
thank
Mel.
you. All right. Bye.
Bye.